Vice President Kashim Shettima visits Gwoza local government area following multiple suicide bomb attacks that left over 30 persons dead in Borno State. Conveys condolence of the president. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says there is no cause for alarm as machines affected by floods in Edo State has been recovered. Assures of readiness for Edo and Ondo polls in September and November, respectively. Hello and welcome to Politics Today, reaching you live from our global headquarters here in the nation's commercial nerve center, Lagos. I'm Jeffrey Uzon, and of course, tracking the polity, as I've always said, is our responsibility. Today, we look at security as well as some role of the opposition in nation building. But first, let's tell you that 48 hours after suicide bombers detonated improvised explosive devices at different locations in Gwoza local government area of Borno State, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, has visited his home state to commiserate with the families of those affected. The VP says death toll from Gwoza attack is now 31, as 42 persons were brought to the specialist hospital, but 14 have been discharged after receiving treatment, while 26 are still receiving treatment. The Vice President made a personal donation to all the victims of that particular attack. He also conveys the President, he was accompanied rather by the Deputy Governor of Borno State, Babagana Kingibes, and Senator Aline Dume, Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, among others. He also conveys the condolences of the President Bola Tinubu to Gwoza residents and the people of Borno State. Let's also tell you that the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, says the 3,500 out of 400,000 machines that were affected by the flood in Edo State have been recovered. Speaking at a retreat for the commission holding in Lagos State, where the commission inducted 10 new resident electoral commissioners. Professor Mahmoud also assures of commissioners' experiences and readiness to work, especially those deployed to Ondo and Edo states.
There are two of them, as you said, in Edo and in Ondo State. That of Edo is a new wreck, but it's no longer very new. He was sworn in and deployed to Edo State in December last year. But that of Ondo has been a long-term staff of the commission. Ms. Babalola was Director, Legal Services, later Director, Legal Drafting and Clearance in the commission. So she's not entirely new to the conduct of elections. But as I said in my speech, it is not just about the forthcoming governorship elections. But some of these regs, a few weeks after they were sworn in, conducted court-order rerun elections and by-elections arising from the resignation or death of honorable members of the National and State Assemblies. So they have also been inducted in terms of conduct of elections, practically speaking. We had, unfortunately, flooding in our office in Edo State. Over 4,000 machines were affected. We deployed our technical staff. We have already recovered over 3,500 of those machines. And since this is an off-cycle election, if we are not able to recover the machines for Edo State, we'll call for additional support from neighboring states, since it's only Edo that will be conducting elections. So in terms of machines, be rest assured we have enough. We are going to recover for Edo, and we have enough assets from neighboring states to make sure that we don't suffer any encumbrances at all.
Away from electoral matters, the Nigerian Customs Service has intercepted a shipment of assorted arms and ammunition originating from Turkey and estimated to be worth, guess the number, 13.9 billion naira. Speaking to journalists at the Onne Port in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, the Comptroller General of Customs, Bashar Deni, revealed that the 40-foot container with registration number MEU 165396 originated in Turkey, and that the service had kept it under surveillance, or it had been under surveillance all the way. The service impounded the container when the importer attempted to circumvent protocol, and on inspection it was discovered to be carrying 844 units of rifles, 112,500 pieces of live ammunition, According to Mr. Bashir, the rifle and ammunition were concealed using various items such as doors, furniture, plumbing fittings, and leather bags. 3 suspects have so far been arrested and are in custody of the customs, while investigations are on to decipher the circumstances surrounding this particular shipment. So what you're seeing is real. It's been intercepted. We saw this a while ago, and now it's been brought to the fore. Now, the Lagos State Commissioner for Police, Mr. Adegoke Fayode, has told Channels Television that he'll bear a human face and civilize policing to Lagos State during as he steers the affairs of the police in the state. Mr. Fayode just commissioned a police post somewhere around our office right here in the Sherry area, and it says that they will be ready to respond to any distress call as prompt and as quickly as possible. So that's some good news for us around this area. But let's also tell you that there is a refute coming in from a lot of security stories. I guess you would have seen that now. Nigerian Army, or Nigerian Air Force, I should say, has refuted the reports making the rounds that an Air Force helicopter carrying out an anti-terrorism operation crashed in Tami village in Igabi local government area, Kaduna State. They say that is false. The Air Force Director of Public Relations and Information, Air Vice Marshal Edward Gadwe, told Channels Television that the crash involved an unmanned aerial vehicle on a routine exercise in the early hours of this morning. Air Marshal Gadwe also revealed that, or appealed to citizens to always verify stories of happenings before they go to town with it. So that's the latest. A lot of security stories coming through, which is why it's going to be one of our very core conversations for today on the program. But those are not the only stories we've been tracking for you. Let's also bring you other political roundup stories.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, says President Tinubu's led administration is focused on the empowerment of Nigerians. The minister said this during the flag-off of Mabushi Bus Terminal in Abuja. He notes that the master plan of the FCT has been distorted by some individuals, making it difficult to carry out projects in the FCT, but plans are on to revive it.
A city like Abuja does not have bus and taxi terminals. You see people on the road, taxis all over the place. And that, of course, is part of our insecurity problems.
Justice James Omostosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed the fundamental human rights suit filed by the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, against the federal government. Kanu had sued the Attorney General of the Federation and the Department of State Services, DSS, for 1 billion naira in damages, alleging rights violation. He claimed that the DSS and its Director General prevented his lawyers from having unrestricted interactions with him, thereby violating his rights to a fair hearing. In his judgment, Justice Omostosho ruled that Kanu failed to prove credible evidence to support his claims that his interactions with his lawyers were hindered, that he was denied unrestricted access to his lawyers, and that the DSS officials eavesdropped on his conversations with his legal team, thus breaching his rights to a fair hearing. The Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission have announced October 5, 2024 for the conduct of the local government elections. The announcement was made on Monday at a stakeholders meeting at the Commission's office in Port Harcourt, the state capital. The chairman of the Rivers State Electoral Commission, retired Justice Adolphus Enebeli, notes that the time is ripe to yield to call of all stakeholders for the LGA elections following the end of tenure of the former chairman.
There shall be local government council elections on Saturday, the 5th of October 2024, in all the 23 local government areas listed in Borno 2 of the table and first state of this program.
Meanwhile, the Northern Senators Forum have condemned what it describes as horrific and devastating. The violence and attack on Goza community in Borno State, resulting in several loss of lives on June 29, 2024. The forum equally saluted the unwavering courage and dedication of the medical teams, rescue workers, and the Nigerian Army, who responded with valor and selflessness in the face of adversity. The chairman of the Northern Senators Forum, Senator Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, in a statement vowed that the forum would seek justice and hold accountable those responsible for the vile act.
All right, welcome back. We now get straight to that conversation. So just a little bit of a background. On Saturday, we understand that women were strapped with IEDs and sent into a community or communities in Gwoza local government area in Borno State. And Gwoza is a local government that borders Cameroon, just above Bama local government area. And 4 of those women detonated those IEDs, and a couple of people were killed. The initial number was 18, and then another 3 died. But as at the last count, as the vice president has visited, we understand now that about 31 people have been confirmed dead. Others are receiving treatment while some have been discharged. It's been a while we heard of suicide bombing. So what is responsible for this resurgence? That's the reason we're having this conversation, to probe further, to know exactly how we will not allow this to happen just again. We've been joined on the program by a couple of my guests, a retired Army officer, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. He joins us via Zoom, as well as Mr. Sogom Maimele. He's a Commissioner for Local Government and Emirates Affairs in Borno State. I also have joining us via Zoom Mr. Sheyi Adetayo, a security consultant. Gentlemen, and Captain, thank you so much for coming on the program. Honorable Commissioner, if you can hear me, I just wanted to find out from you, you are the one on the ground, what exactly is the situation of things in Gwoza? We understand the Vice President has visited. My assumption is that he's left Gwoza, but you are the ones that are there. What is the situation, the pulse of the town as we speak?
Thank you so much. The position in Gwoza as of now is quite calm. The acting governor, Umar Usman Kadafur, the senator representing the zone, Mohamed Alindume, the honorable member representing the constituency, the Honorable Ahmed Jaha Babao, members of the State House of Assembly, Abacha Umar, the chairman of the local government, all of them with their critical stakeholders have visited the area, sympathized with the victims, and as of now, the situation is quite calm. And those who are hospitalized in Maiduguri, the Vice President has paid a sympathetic visit in the hospitals. He saw them and he sympathized with them, and he prayed Almighty Allah that we should end this madness within the very possible time.
Has any group claimed responsibility for this attack?
For now, there is no any group that officially claimed the responsibility of this act.
All right, let's head to Group Captain. Captain, of course, you are the one that has on-ground experience as far as this sort of warfare is concerned. And I'm wondering how we miss this. The army and the military generally has been commended for pushing them as far back as they can to the best of their ability. But this resurgence, we understand that about 30 women were involved and were sent into the community according to the reports we get, but 4 were able to carry out this havoc that killed at least 30 people from the records we have. What do you think the state missed out in terms of intelligence?
To the governor and people of Borno State, having said that, it is actually very difficult to, discover a suicide bomber. And without making any excuses, if we look at the chronology, the last time we had a suicide bombing in that part of the country was in 2019. 2019 was the last time we have, on 4 June 2019, the blast at Konduga. That was the last time. That means 2020, 2021, 2023, for about 4.5 years, we've been quiet. So probably, again, that has made us to think that suicide bombing is no longer there. However, when you look at the tactics and modus operandi of Boko Haram, every terrorist organization has its own modus operandi. Suicide bombing for Boko Haram is not even the main, the main modus operandi that they use. So for them to have resorted to this, in one way, it is a positive indication. What does it tell us? It means they are no longer able to carry out conventional attacks, where they used to attack barracks, whether they attack military formations. So now they have resorted to this, hitting civilians blindly. So to some extent, that is a positive way of showing that they are under pressure and they can no longer carry out those things. However, like I said, having 4.5 years without suicide bombing probably has made us to be a bit complacent. Because if I remember, not only the military, not only the police, not only the agencies, at the height of 2011, 2012, 2013, when this suicide bombing was there, I think even churches and mosques, they raised up their profile of how they screen people going in and out. So whether the security forces, whether the general public, I think we went back to sleep, seeing that suicide bombing is back. I mean, it has gone away. Unfortunately, it has not. Again, if we look at it historically, the first suicide bombing by Boko Haram was 2011, June 16, 2011, when they attacked the police headquarters here in Abuja. From then, we have seen Boko Haram getting more and more used to Boko Haram. Some experts are of the opinion that they learned the art of making IEDs from ISIS or ISWAP. And from that reason, they see, that suicide bombing relatively is a very cheap thing to do. And to be honest with you, if we even follow some of the interviews that we had with there are some guests that were intercepted who didn't detonate their own bombs. What they were given is something as low as 20,000, 20 naira, as low as 20 naira. So the Boko Haram member, suicide bombing carries a lot of advantage. First, it is low cost. Secondly, the suicide bomber has the advantage of hiding, especially if it is a woman, how people dress in the Northeast, the Muslim hijab, it is very easy for a lady to conceal. And then culturally, even the security agencies, there is tendency not to search a woman too closely. The way you will frisk a man, honestly, based on our culture, sometimes it's difficult to really frisk a woman, even though there is a solution to that. You can always put ladies
All right, Group Captain, connection issues, I guess. So let's take it to Mr. Shey Adetayo, who is a security consultant. Mr. Adetayo, I want to take it from where Group Captain landed, maybe piggyback from what he said about how the cost, the literal amount they were given. He said 20 naira. Let me even take it to 20,000, for instance. Let's even assume it's more than 20 naira to 20,000. What do you think would have been responsible for someone to be told that take 20,000, go and blow up yourself and kill others and you'll be fine? What exactly do you think could make someone to be that convinced to take up this kind of responsibility? Because we have to look at it from all angles. Mr. Adetayo.
Okay, so I'm going to look at it differently from Group Captain Sunday. Let me first of all lay this foundation that this terrorism and insurgency started in Nigeria with suicide bombing. So we shouldn't see what has happened as a sign of weakness from the insurgents. That was how they started before they began guerrilla warfare. That led military, that brought military into the theater. Initially, it was being handled more as a terrorist activities across the country. And we're back in the same fray as we speak today. From all indications, those people who were laced with IED were drugged. They were not in their right senses and they were pushed out there. Another thing that I want us to understand is that looking at it differently from Group Captain Survey is the fact that to prep a suicide bomber requires technical skill. This is not a skill that you can find in the market, in the field. It means that somebody must have gone for serious training or someone that is highly skilled in preparing IEDs and then being able to wire it on a victim's body must have either come within that particular area to train people to do it or to set up, a suicide bomb factory, or they must have sent people outside of Nigeria to go and train under professionals, professional terrorists, to be trained and equipped. And also, some of the materials, yes, we know that some of those materials for, vehicle-borne IEDs and the rest can actually be sourced locally. But if you look at the major ingredient that they are using here, mostly materials that must have been smuggled into the country from Chad, Lake Chad area, and then the Cameroon. And most importantly, those that could have been sourced from mining activities that is currently ongoing in the northwest and the northeastern parts of Nigeria. This is something that we need to pay critical attention to. From my background in the intelligence and being opportune to be in this business at the beginning of Boko Haram activities in Nigeria, being on the field, and I think that it is for us to call a spade a spade. It is normal when you have fought a war for a while, you have been able to decapitate your enemy, complacency must set in. And it is that period when there is law, there is calm, there is quietness. It's actually the most dangerous period that we need to ask ourselves the question, why are the enemies quiet? Is it because we've dealt with them, we've destroyed them, or because they're actually planning something? From my own assessment and understanding of what is going on right now, I think somebody or some group of persons might be poking the bear, trying to bring us back to 2011, trying to bring us back possibly to what we experienced prior to or follow up to 2015 election. We can't rule out people who are trying to destabilize the country as a result of politics, as a result of economic benefit. A lot of kidnapping has happened of recent.
Right.
And even that calls for questions. And those kidnapping is a way in which terrorists use to raise money. What we have seen from the information, about 30 to 40 people were pressed to go out there and carry out. So a lot of funding must have gone into them. And that raises a big question. Where were those funds? Where did those funds come from? Who sponsored the current activity we're seeing? Suicide bombing is not what. I can tell you, 99% of soldiers in the Nigerian military today cannot prep a suicide bomber. It is not something that because you've carried gun, because you know how to shoot, you can do. It's a specialized area. Some people are out there right now to bring us back to the dark ages and the military now to wake up.
All right, Mr. Adeta,
I want to have this. Let me just quickly have
just 10 seconds
now,
so that I can take it up.
Call. Okay.
No, just land on your thoughts so I can ask the commissioner the question.
Now, I commend the military for what they're doing. I've seen what the MJ Multinational Joint Task Force just did in Cameroon and Lake Chad. They destroyed some vehicle, about eight vehicle borne ID the last few days, and even up to Malam Faturi, where they destroyed two camps. The president at this point need to make his directive to the military to be smart. There must be timeline. It must be smart. You must give them timeline to clear this, not a blanket and say, okay, continue. We must see results within certain period. If not, we're going back to the dark ages.
All right, let's take it to the Honorable Commissioner, Mr. Mele. He has raised questions that I don't have answers to, and Nigerians are interested in the answers to those questions. He has gotten the political angle, the social angle, the economic angle. There's a gamut of issues. So I'm sure they've been debriefed, the ladies that were arrested or captured, if you may. What has the government learned so far that you can share with us, the ones that are, that you're able to share, Honorable Commissioner?
Thank you so much, because the ladies that were captured and the part of those who were burned by the bomb blast, it was identified that they were in fact indigents of the country, but they smuggled in the blast through the women that went to farm. They usually go to their farms early in the morning. They pass through the military gates, and when they go back from their farms, they also come back through the military gates. But these women, they smuggle in through the women that followed back from the farms. So as the former speaker has rightly said, there is some laxity on the part of the screening exercise. Before now, when the farmers are going out to the farm, they issue tax and they will be registered. In the evening when they come back, they show their tax, and in the register, they mark them that they have come in. So anybody that has not come in during the closing hours, then they should be arrested, or they should not be allowed to go in. But what had happened in Goza now, these women, they entered into the town in the guise that they are also farmers. In fact, I learned that one of them was even carrying a baby. So she went to the Borno of that incident. She was begging, and people have started even giving her some incentives. Some 20 naira, 50 naira, 100 naira. She has been collecting in the name of as a beggar. So suddenly she now detonated the bomb. So this is what is happening. So I think there should be some seriousness on the part of the screening exercise to these indigenous, because Goza is a densely populated. We have a total population of over 30,000 women head of household in Goza.
Okay,
and let's know their identity.
Okay, but Commissioner, so let's reestablish the so far so good from what the debriefing has done in terms of getting information. Are you saying that all of the women are from Goza in Borno State?
Yes, those who are residing in Goza now, they are all indigenous of Goza, local government. They were earlier displaced. Some of them were in Maiduguri, some of them were in Cameroon. So when the insurgency now, the security situation has improved, they went back to their ancestral homes to pick the pieces of their lives, and the military has allowed them to go to their farms. They clear their farms, they harvest their farms. So in this process, they are settling in Goza permanently.
Okay, let's take it to group captain. Group captain, you know, the gender bias gives them that ease of access, you know, so the level of suspicion, as you've alluded, may be very low. But in going forward, how should the agencies, whether intelligence or security agencies, begin to profile them without necessarily wrongly profiling people and getting some people in trouble that may not be a threat to anyone?
Well, normally what should be done, you know, to avoid issues of religion or cultural practices that are not accepted, what you do is screening, is also to have enough female security personnel. And, you know, a segregated screening places where you could screen men, you could screen women. If you have female security forces, I don't think there's anything untoward for a lady touching a lady. The problem you have with the reticence I talk about is where you have a man manning a checkpoint. He might feel a bit reluctant, you know, to touch a woman and pat her and everything. So I think this is one issue that the security forces have to have. But more than that, it's more vigilance. Like I said, given that we've had 4.5 years without suicide bombing, like I earlier alluded, probably made us to relax. Not only the security officers, even the local community, whether it is churches, whether it is mosques, whether it is gathering. Because again, when you look at the tactics, always when there is suicide bombing, it is in a public place, either in a market or in a bus stop or in a motor park or in a school. It is always a public place. So what does it mean? Owners of premises, people that are in charge of premises, whether they are business premises or public premises, everybody has to be aware. A suicide bomber has certain characteristics which a well-trained security man might be able to suspect some things. Like I said, the usual item that Boko Haram in particular uses is a suicide vest. It's something that you wear on the upper torso, and then you cover it with an outer gathering. So without being prescriptive, when you see somebody with, you know, a bit of lower limbs that are a bit thin, and then upper body that is a bit fat, for example, or somebody that is heavily dressed in the sun, Maiduguri is usually hot. When you see somebody overdressed, these are some of the cues that normally security agencies are taught on how to detect, you know, people that are carrying IEDs. But then, like I said, more and more again, using of intelligence to find out where this is better. Because in the first step, what makes a suicide bomber very dangerous is that this is a man who is not planning, or a woman who is not planning to attack and go home. For him, it is a one-way trip. So if you even allow him to come up to the area where you even have to search him, or possibly it is already too late. Because this is a man that just wants to, one of the girls that were, not in this case, that was interviewed after being captured, she said what the commander told her, or the person who sent her, was just find anywhere that there's a gathering of people and explode. That is one thing. And I also want to point out one thing. Even, in the studies about terrorism, people say suicide bombers. But people always question, is everybody, like these ladies, for example, somebody mentioned the issue of drugging. Some issue mentioned the issue of brainwashing for them to carry bombs. A typical, or I can say an exclusive suicide bomber is the one who knowingly and willingly agreed to carry a bomb, knowing that he is going to be part of that attack and he's going to die with the attack. In most cases, some of the suicide bombers are not like that. Some are coerced. In fact, some, their bomb is detonated remotely. They are carrying it, and some don't even know what they are carrying.
Okay.
Even though by the time this thing happens, these people are dead, we do not know, we cannot interview them, but these are some of the telltale signs that we should be watching out for.
All right, Grookap, let's take it to Mr. Adetayo. At the end of the day, is the people that are in the mix of all of this. What can the government do quickly to inspire confidence in the people, to support them with intelligence? Because you can imagine multiple attacks, multiple explosions in one location. When I mean one location, in Goza, local government area, in few hours apart or minutes apart. What can the government do to inspire hope so that, they can support the military or the security agencies to nip this in the bud as quickly as possible? If you can tell me that in just 30 seconds, we're totally out of time, Mr. Adetayo.
Oh, 30 seconds. Well, I think the Vice President has done the right in diversity. And I also need to establish the fact that those people were kidnapped, majorly kidnapped victims. They were kidnapped in their farms, and they're forced to wear the vest. They are not people that were brainwashed. They are people that were drugged, kidnapped from the farms, and directed to where they should go. And that makes it a whole lot of, different from what we've been dealing with before. And this calls for the need for all the joint security forces in the area to actually sit down together and re-examine. This is totally different, and the whole idea is to instill fear in the people. And that fear, I'm afraid, might be there for a little while. But government needs to begin to show through the armed forces and the security agencies that they're on top of the situation and they can nip this on the bud as quickly as possible. The role of intelligence is critical here. This is not about AK-47 jet fighter. It is more about intelligence. Our intelligence activities should, in fact, the DSI to start taking a lead, and other intelligence arm of the armed forces should take a lead in this particular incident now. They need to penetrate all those areas and quickly get information when people are kidnapped in the farms, so as to begin to preempt possible entrance of those that must have been prepped for bombing into the communities. Most importantly, try to identify the groups that are behind these and then neutralize them as quickly as possible. This is like what we've experienced recently, just the calm before the storm. I think the storm is now coming. I'm sorry to say this, but this is the reality, and we're going to come back together again. And discuss that. There is more coming after this, judging from what we've experienced.
All right, Mr. Adetayo, I wanted to say, God forbid, because that's a Nigerian thing to say, but you're the security expert, but I will not doubt what you say, but I would still say God forbid, so that we don't come and have this conversation, because at the end of the day, people are dying, but I can't doubt and disagree with your expert view. But let's go back to the commissioner. Mr. Mele, in closing, what is government doing in the immediate term to make sure that the place stays calm and everybody is not as afraid as, given the situation that has happened? It's difficult not to be scared. But what is the government doing right now to ensure that they restore confidence to the people as much as possible? In 30 seconds, sir.
Yes, exactly. The Borno State Governor, Professor Bana Marazulum, has directed for the proper mobilization of the citizens that they should not go beyond the areas that have been marked by the military, that these places are no-go areas. because very recently, not quite long, in not more than 2 weeks ago, we have excavated the whole Goza town, where the military said these places are cleared and they can be able to make their farmlands within the excavated areas. So they were advised not to go beyond the excavation area. So anybody seen outside the excavation area is a terrorist. So what we are now advising, there is community mobilization right now going on in Goza, headed by the chairman of the local government. The emir of Goza himself is also a member of that exercise, and the critical stakeholders of Goza are also there, making proper mobilization that those who are allowed to go to their farmland should not go beyond the excavation area. This is what is going on right now in Goza. So I think with this proper mobilization, they should not be allowed to go beyond the excavation area, and we term that any area that is excavated is, inshallah, is a free zone for the farmers to do their farming activities.
All right, I do hope that the people are watching, or there is a local way of reaching out to the people so they don't fall victim. I must thank you, Sogom Mele, the Commissioner for Local Government and Emirate Affairs in Borno State, joining us from our Maiduguri studios, as well as Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, a retired Army officer and security consultant, joining us via Zoom from Kaduna, and Sheyi Adetayo, security consultant, joining us via Zoom from London. Gentlemen and Captain, thank you so much for coming on the program. And that's it for this particular segment. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, what is the role of the opposition in nation building? Has the opposition in Nigeria really lived up to its expectation? That's the conversation we're having next. Join us again. Welcome back. The beauty of the ideal of democracy is a luxury of choice. That's why we talk about more than a party, so that we're not stuck in a particular party and their ideology. So when the people don't like one, they have the luxury of choosing another and yet another and the other. But in Nigeria, we're asking the question, for a while, has the opposition really lived up to expectation? But I've been joined on the program by two opposition party members, the national chairman of the Young Progressive Party, Comrade Bishop Amakri. He joins us via Zoom from Port Harcourt, as well as Prince Kennedy Ahanotu is a national youth leader of the Labour Party. Young men in their rights in politics, and it's an exciting one for me because they are young. So these are the future in terms of politics. So welcome, gentlemen, to the program.
Thank you, Godfrey. Nice to be here.
Thank you. Good evening, Godfrey. How are you?
We're very well, we're very well. I said the future, but I now thought to myself, I said, you're already in leadership position at the party level, so you're already in the present, you're already taking charge, which is why you're relevant to this conversation. So let me bring this to you, Mr. Makri of the YPP. When the PDP was in power, the APC was praised for being a formidable opposition. In fact, they were such a strong opposition that they wrestled power, and they took power from the PDP in 2015. But after that, people have been asking questions about the level of opposition that the opposition party has actually presented. It used to be PDP versus APC then. Now it looks like APC versus the people. In your view, this is for both of you, but let me start with you, Mr. Makri. Has the opposition lost its stamina in holding the ruling party to account in day-to-day running of government?
Seriously here, it looks like it's disrupting, the voice, but I can't really hear you clearly. It's raining seriously here. I think it's actually...
Okay, let me start with you, Mr. Kennedy, since I'm sure you heard me clearly, before I get back to Mr. Makri.
Well, thank you so much for that question. Truly, I think the problem we have in Nigeria is that we have the current crop of leaders who played active opposition, but today they are not interested in seeing opposition succeed. Typical example is the current president of Nigeria, who fought and fought and fought all manner of governments. There are a lot of them in government today that took the streets, that fought even President Jonathan against the oil subsidy. But today, they are the ones trying to suppress opposition. Having said this, I think opposition is not faring well in Nigerian politics today because of the interests of the ruling class. Ordinarily, in other climes, opposition is part and parcel of governance. The moment elections is over, you see opposition bringing even their ideas, because we are not talking about the governance of the entirety of the nation, not just the people in the APC or people in the Labour Party or people in the YPP or people in the PDP. For example, if you also look at what is happening between the APC and PDP you are talking about today, they are the same people as far as people like us, the younger generation, is concerned. We have a man that is a minister under APC and who is still having his leg as a leader of the PDP. What does that show you? It shows you that opposition politics have been bastardized. The leaders that we have currently wants to be in one place and control what is happening in another place. It will never allow the opposition parties in Nigeria to grow, because it will always make the oppositions to always look up to these people in government for survival. And I think if Nigeria wants to succeed in terms of opposition politics, there is need for inclusivity in governance. Whether you've won or you've lost, there is need for total inclusivity. Include the opposition in whatever you are doing. It's not just about you because you won an election. I mean, there is nothing special about you because you have emerged as the president, or because you emerged as a senator, or because you emerged as a governor. The need to include every factor of the economy is very, very important. For example, in the Labour Party, we have so many contributions to make in making sure Nigeria is put on the right direction. But instead of the party in government to allow the opposition to even hold them accountable, they are trying to introduce foreign materials into the opposition political parties that will put them on check. And these have really truly bastardized.
When you say, Mr. Kennedy,
it's quite unfortunate.
When you say the ruling party is stopping effective opposition, what exactly do you mean?
I've given you a typical example of somebody that is a minister under a political party while he's claiming to be a leader in another political party. It's clear. So the ruling oligarchy have infiltrated opposition. They don't want opposition to even say you are not getting it right, you are not getting it wrong. So what they feel is that everybody should be happy. The moment they have emerged, everybody should celebrate them. And I don't think it's healthy for our democracy. And that is why we don't have political institutions. What we have is mere political parties. People have even called it school uniform, that you can change anyhow at any time. But in the other decent climes, it's not so. There is political ideology. If you go to the UK, you have the Labour Party, you have the other political parties. Even in China, despite that the CPC is in power, they still service other political parties, not service in terms of making them to favor them, but to also engage them in terms of criticism. But we are in this part of the world where people don't like critics. People don't want to be criticized. The moment you say President Tinubu is not getting it right, they will take you to behind bars. It's wrong.
Okay, well, you are saying they will take, because I wanted to come to the point where, look, if you're the opposition, there is a media channel, there is all kinds of media channel for you to make your criticism, whether through writing or appearances like this and all of that, which is one of the ways, you know. If you're talking of crackdown, have you seen much of that, or is the fact that the opposition themselves have not gotten their acts together to be able to have a formidable voice to speak? What do I mean? We see in the top parties, permit me to use that word, lone voices, rather than people leading as a vanguard of a group to speak against policies of government.
Well, like I said, the oppositions in Nigeria are ready to play opposition. But the ruling oligarchy, no matter how you look at it, will not want opposition to stand up. And yes, I have this kind of avenue to speak. But after speaking in terms of implementation, what happens? They are still there in power. People like us will always come and shout. People like us will always come and speak. But after speaking, what is the effort of government to encourage even opposition? What is the effort of government to encourage institutionalization of political parties and political institutions? For example, even the ruling class does not have a leadership recruitment pattern. The APC does not have a leadership recruitment structure. What they do is after every 4 years, people that have made some money will come and get party tickets and win an election. There is no recruitment process for APC.
Let's take it back.
For leadership recruitment process for the PDP.
Mr. Arnold, I think I understand you to an extent, but let's take it back to Mr. Makri, who I understand has now joined us. Mr. Makri, Mr. Arnold has been saying that the ruling party hasn't given opposition a chance to play their role, and I've been trying to query as to what does it mean by giving a chance. Maybe you can respond.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I was having some technical issues, but thank God I'm back. Somehow I really didn't hear virtually most of the things he said. But I think if I may understand, maybe you're trying to see what is the link between ruling party and opposition parties. Is it that how can they work in synergy, or what role do opposition party play when maybe the ruling party are going astray, from policy making and other things? Because I didn't really get the question properly, so that I can respond properly.
Okay, I'm just saying that opposition looks ineffective in Nigeria, and he is saying that it is because the ruling party is suppressing opposition. So I'm asking you, is that what you see? Is that how you characterize the scenario?
Yes, I think to some extent I will agree. And then to some extent also, the opposition parties also have their own role they need to play. I don't think there is a way if somebody who believes in himself or herself stands on the path of excellence, and somebody can just come and, match you down and say, no, you don't speak. You must speak. We are all citizens of this country. Now, I think the part that I agree with him is that this opposition party or ruling party we're talking about is not just peculiar to the presidency or the party at the center. It trickles down to the state. For example, I am experiencing some of these things in states like Abia State, where the Labour Party is now ruling in the state as the governor, who has refused to allow some of my party members, House of Assembly members, to breathe there, not allowing them to play their role of opposition. The same thing we are also experiencing in Akwa Ibom State, where we have some. So what these people do is they don't really want anything like opposition around them. And these people who do this thing actually are virtually most of the politicians I will call the gerontocrats, politicians who actually are the conventional politicians that have been around the space, the political space, who have not allowed the young generation, the young people, to take leadership. Because to them, it's what I would call transactional leadership, where people will even tell you it's their time. If it is not them, nobody will have, or they will tell you they will make the government ungovernable if it is not them. How can you get a vibrant opposition when there are some people who have refused to allow what I call mentorship to take place? Every time we keep going into a one recirculatory system where you only have one set of people that want to continue to lead us in this country. If we do not break that thing, if we do not shatter that downward spiral to anywhere, let's forget about this shout we come on television most time, which I will say they don't give up breathing space to operate or whatever. When the people
Mr. Makri, I will have to butt in.
At the times of affairs are still the old
I will have to butt in, Mr. Makri.
That are still in
my sincere apologies. This is what we'll do. We need to reorganize and reconvene so that we have a bigger and better time.
Please, it's a very important, very important topic.
Apparently, this is an important conversation. I can get the feelers from this conversation. I must thank both of you, though, for the short time we had to have this conversation. Mr. Dennis Sorry, I almost said dead because there's another Amakri who is a security expert. Comrade Bishop Amakri.
He's a brother.
National chairman of the Young Progressive Party, as well as Prince Kennedy Ahanotu, the national youth leader of the Labour Party. Thank you so much. I know, Mr. Ahanotu, you want to say something. We're totally out of time.
Having just 5 minutes conversation.
That's why I say we'll reconvene. We'll reconvene. Not to worry. Don't worry. Thank you for coming on the program. I appreciate it. Thank you for your understanding. And that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzonga. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Good night. Good night.